Make sure your sit bones are grounded on the floor. Sit up with a tall spine, so just imagine like there's a thread going through your spine, the top of the head, and someone's pulling up on it. You can start to deepen your breath. You can draw your gaze down to the floor in front of you, or maybe close your eyes. Taking deep inhales, feeling your chest expand in all directions, taking the air in the back body, the side body, and then exhaling. Diaphragm comes up, pushing air out of your lungs. So just do a couple rounds of breathing on your own. I'm going to read an excerpt from the poem The Sound of the Sun by George Bradley. If you listen closely some morning, when the sun swells over the horizon and the world is still asleep, you might hear it, a faint noise so far inside your mind that has come from somewhere else, from light rushing into darkness. Energy burning towards entropy, towards a peaceful solution, burning brilliantly, spontaneously, in the middle of nowhere. And you too must make a sound that is somewhat like it. So that, of course, you have no way of hearing at all. So I just wanted to read that, just to think about how there's so much going on right now, so much in our lives, and we might engage that in different ways, but also we need to take the time to withdraw from that and find moments of peace. So if you shut your eyes, you can start to open your eyes, and we're going to do a little breathing exercise, breathing and movement exercise. So I want you to cup your hands, just like make little cups with your hands, but they're still straight pretty much. And bend your elbows so that your hands forearms are beside your body and they're bent parallel to the ground. And so we're going to do the breath, and we're going to do it with the movement of the hands. So you're going to move your hands up and down like this, both palms facing down. And then with the beat, you're just going to take your breath in an 8 count. So it's, in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then out, exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's actually like 8 little tiny inhales and 8 tiny exhales. So you can go ahead and start. Find your pace, so you're just taking a little bit of breath each time, but filling all the way by the end of the 8. All right, and so on your next exhale, we're going to switch, and your left hand is going to stay the same, but your right hand is going to turn so the palm faces up. Do a couple rounds like this, same 8 for the in and 8 exhales. Keeping a long spine. The end of the next exhale, we're going to reverse that. So the right hand palm goes down, left hand palm goes up. Same Viloma or interrupted breath pattern. Do one more round. Then after your next exhale, raise your hands up, hold your breath, take a deep inhale, hold your breath, raise your hands up to the sky, hold the breath in, maybe take a little more in, Exhale, slowly bring your hands down, tops of your hands to your knees. Take a couple breaths to feel that. Now take a long stretch up, as high as you can. Feel the line up from your fingertips down to your sit bones. And then start to lean forward, bring your hands out and then back and clasp your hands behind your back. And lean a little bit forward and raise your hands as high as you can. Releasing all the tension in your shoulders. Okay, release that. I forgot to mention too, I know I sent out a playlist. I don't know if anyone's using it, but if you are using it, to the Spotify playlist, you can hit play on your playlist. And now everyone, if you can join me on your knees, on your mat. And actually, I'll give you a choice. Oh, no, yeah, we're going to all start on our knees for this, sorry. So we're going to sit back into hero's pose. So maybe move your calves out of your way. Your ankles should be a little wider than your hips. Sit down. And then let your left hand find the floor and raise your right hand up towards the sky. And maybe starts to curve a little bit to the left to deepen your bend. Take a breath here. And then you're going to start to turn your chest towards the ground. And the hand comes towards the ground. And then move your chest forward through center, still low to the ground. Come all the way around to the other side. Plant your right hand. Left foot goes out straight and right hand points. Left hand points to the right. You gaze up towards the palm. Chest goes back down towards center. Come all the way forward and then roll back up to your seat. So we're going to do a couple rounds of this. We'll go to the other side, but I think you know the basic movement now. So now we'll start with the right hand down. Left hand goes up, maybe to the side. Feel the opening of the left side of your body. If anything's tight, breathe into it on that side. And then start to turn your chest towards the ground. Bring that left hand across the ground. Swirl the right hand up to open your chest. Go face back towards the ground, come forward, and then roll up. So I'm going to try to go a little slower in class today, but so what the goal for you is to think of the movement not just like going from one pose to the next, or how can I get from downward dog to up dog, but really kind of taking in each moment and feeling the transition between the movement as much as trying to get to the next point, like enjoying the journey. So we'll do a couple rounds, a little more fat, a little quicker. Left hand to the ground, right hand reaches up, up, and then a little bit over. Really open that right side, and then start to come lower as you turn the chest down. Go all the way through middle, up to the other side. Feeling the stretch from the tippy toes to the fingertips. Start to turn back down through center and then roll up. Right hand to the ground, left hand up and over. And just getting a little bit deeper, opening that left side. Start to turn your chest. Roll through middle. Circle all the way around. Maybe your chest opens a little more towards the sky this time. Feeling the back bend, and then turn back down. Come through center. One more time. Left hand down, right hand reaches. Turning towards the ground, over to your right side, long stretch. And back down through center. Coming up to the right hand on the ground, left hand reaches. Reach deeper till you turn. Circle around. Turn your chest back down. Back up through center. All right, so turn to the front of your mat. Tuck your toes. Plant your hands and press up into downward dog. The first downward dog of the day. You can have a little movement if you want to pedal back and forth on your feet. But then come to a rest, come to stillness. Take a few more breaths here. So on your inhales, just a slight movement to feel a little more weight into your hands. Maybe your torso moves a little bit further that way. Then on the exhale, really ground into your hands to push your sit bones back and up. Inhale. Do the same movement a little forward. Maybe your heels come up. Maybe they little external rotation. Your heels just can barely see it, but they come a little bit inward. And then full exhale. Push into your hands. Sit bones to go back. Heels drop and go slightly outward, making room for your pelvis. Try one more round. Inhale. A little bit forward on your toes. Exhale. Press into your hands for long extension. Now take a walk to the front of your mat, but do it real slow, feeling the ball of your foot to the toe of your foot individually. Coming forward to forward fold. You can clasp your forearms together, let your head drop. Maybe move from side to side if you'd like. Return your hands to the ground. Inhale, halfway up, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, hinge at the hips, forward fold. Inhale, ground into the feet, raise your hands above your head, high prayer. And exhale, keep your hips where they are, but turn your torso to the right, opening your hands to a T, palms up. Inhale, back up to high prayer. Exhale, turn your chest to the left, opening your arms up, parallel to the floor. Inhale, back up to center. Exhale, forward fold, long back, hips go back a little bit as you fold over. Inhale, chest forward and up, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, hinge over your legs. Inhale, ground in the feet, raise your chest and hands high. Exhale, turn to the right, hips stay the same, feeling the turn one vertebrae at a time. Inhale, high prayer. Again, start to turn, feel it from the bottom of your spine, a little bit at a time till you open fully to the left. Inhale, back to high prayer, and exhale down to mountain pose. So now we're going to do a standing pigeon pose. So stand firm on both feet, mountain pose. Lift your right foot up, and you're going to bend your left leg a little bit and make a figure 4 with your leg. So bring your hands to prayer, and it might, it's a lot of balance. One more breath. Raise up, bring the knee up, and then the leg down to the ground. Second side, lift your left leg up, knee comes up, start to bend your right leg. You might need to use your hands to put your ankle over your right knee, and then bend down in a kind of a pigeon chair mix. Press back up, bring your knee up, and then both feet to the ground. And then step your feet a little bit wider than your hips. Turn your toes out and come down to malasana, or a squat. Knees are pressing out on your, elbows are pressing out on your knees, and your knees are pressing in on your elbows. And then bring your chest down a little bit, face forward. Put your left hand out, and then open your right hand and your chest to the sky. Gaze up the right palm. Extending the twist with each breath. And then bring the hand back down to malasana in the center. Now the other side, we're going to lean forward, and the right hand goes out. Left hand just slowly opens to the sky. All right, come back to center. Push back up into mountain pose. High prayer. Fold all the way over, forward fold. Inhale, chest forward and up. And then exhale, plant your palms, step back through downward dog to hands and knees. Do a couple rounds of cat-cow. So first of all, take a deep breath in, extend your chest forward, your tailbone back and a little bit up. More apart than up. And as you exhale, arch your back, looking in at your navel for cat pose. Inhale. Chest and tailbone reach out, wide chest. Exhale, fold inward for cat pose. Inhale, cow pose, gazes forward. Exhale, cat. One more, inhale for cow pose. Deep exhale, cat. Come back to a neutral spine. Now, tuck your right toes and send your right foot back, heel reaching back. So we're going to come to a kind of supported side plank. So put your weight into your left shin, your left hand, and then like an archer stringing a bow, raise your right hand towards the ceiling. Take a couple breaths here. You can look down at the ground for more balance. If that feels good, you can look to the side or maybe up at your palm. And as we exhale, you're going to return your right foot to the ground, and then your right hand dives underneath your left arm, keeps moving along the floor, so your right shoulder, your right ear are on the floor. Feeling the twist. Press into your left hand. Come back to hands and knees. All right, the other side. So tuck your left toes, send them back. Turn your heel down. And then weight goes into the right hand, left palm reaches up towards the ceiling. Choose your gaze, be deliberate, your drishti. You can inhale, and then on your exhale, start to turn your body. Left knee comes down, left hand under your right arm. One more deep breath here. Press into your right hand to come back to hands and knees. Tuck your toes. Lift up to downward dog and then three-legged dog. Right leg is up. Toes are facing down. Now you can turn your right toes out to the side. Maybe you get a little more height in your right leg. And turn your toes back down. Bring them down to your mat. And then your left leg goes up. Keep the toes down at first. Really grounding into your hands, especially the first knuckle and the thumb. As you let the hip open, toes go to the side. Turn your left toes back down. Bring your foot to the floor. Now raise your right leg up. Come forward into plank and bring your foot outside of your right hand for a lizard pose. So you can stay up like this, up on your fingers. If this is good for you, you have a little more space, you can also lower down on your left forearm, then your right forearm. Perhaps a little movement forward and back. Then come back up, left hand, then right hand pushes you up. And now we're going to start to turn your toes out to the right and turn your torso out to the right. And then you're going to bring the left side of your leg down to the ground. So you're kind of seated. You might have to adjust your right leg. Put your hand out on top of your knee. Do Gyan Mudra, which your first finger and your thumb are linked, gazing over the palm. So the left side of the foot on the ground, the left toes are pointing sidewards. And we're going to come out of this, so push into your left hand, bring your hips off the ground, right hand goes back to the ground, and your right leg turns out. And bring your right foot back to plank pose, and then lift your left leg, bring your foot up outside of your left hand. So again, you can stay up on this hand, or you can come down on the right forearm, left forearm, the lizard. You could also lower the knee down as you do this, if that helps. Some gentle rocking back and forth. Really let that hip open up. Keep the left leg engaged. And then come back up. If you're down, right hand, left hand. And so you turn your toes first, and then turn onto the side of your right foot, and then lower down on that right hip. Left hand comes out over the knee. All right, come all the way back. Hands forward, press into the hands. Other leg goes back. Lift up into downward facing dog. Take a deep breath here. Raise the right leg again. Bring it forward into plank, but this time set it in between the hands. So on your next exhale, right hand comes off the ground, kind of a side lunge, and up towards the ceiling. Bring the right hand back down. Now come forward a little bit, left knee to the ground, and you can stay here and just kind of sink your hips forward if you want. If that's good for you, you can bend your left foot and try to reach around and grab your foot. So your shoulders will be to the side, your gaze to the side. If you can't reach your foot, you can do the same thing, just holding your hand back. Release that, slowly return your foot to the ground. Come back forward, press up. Back to three-legged dog. Left foot comes down, and the right foot goes up. Come forward into plank, right foot goes down. Open up to the left hand up towards the ceiling. Now bring the right knee down. You can stay there. Open your chest to the left. Either your hand goes back or you grab your foot. Release that. Hands frame the foot, press down, back into downward facing dog. All right, come back down to hands and knees again. Couple rounds of cat-cow. Inhale, coming out to cow pose, reaching. Exhale, coming into a back bend. Inhale, reaching out. Exhale into your arch. Inhale, cow pose. Now, tuck your right toes, doing the put your right heel down, reach your right hand up towards the ceiling, gaze up, if it's available. And your exhale, the right hand goes back down, bring it back to hands and knees, and then your left leg goes out. Bring your heel down, come up into a supported side plank. Left hand goes down. Press up into downward dog. Three-legged dog, right foot up. You can open right up so your toes point to the side. Bring them back down to the floor. Right leg goes up, open to the side. Come bring it down again. Now bring your right leg up, coming into lizard, outside your right hand. You can lower the left knee if you like. You can just stay there, feeling the hip opening, or you can lower down to your forearms, left and right. Keep pressing into the right foot, keep it engaged. Come back onto the left hand, right hand. Push back up the three-legged dog. Bring the left foot down, right foot goes up, comes up outside the left hand to the other side. You can lower the right knee to the ground. Lower down to forearms if you'd like. Feeling the opening of the hip. Press back up. Lift back up. Three-legged dog to downward facing dog. Take a slow walk to the front of your mat. Inhale, chest forward. Exhale, hinge at the hips. Inhale, pressing the feet, raise the hands up, high prayer. Exhale, Tadasana. So inhale, gaze up, hands up. Exhale, hinge at the hips. Inhale, halfway up. Then exhale, step back into plank pose, and then child's pose. Come down, knees apart, toes together, hips down between your legs. Take a couple deep breaths here. Come back up to hands and knees. Press up into downward facing dog. Then bring the left foot off the ground, step the left leg forward. Straighten both your legs. You can bring the left hand to the inside of the foot, and then bring the right hand forward and up to triangle pose. So reach forward, opening the chest. Circle the right hand back down. And now frame the foot with the hands, moving the left hand over. Kind of turn the chest a little bit to the left. And then we're going to fold over the leg, gaze towards the toes for Parsvottanasana. All right, press into the front toe to raise back up to Warrior Two. Then turn the feet to the side. We're going to switch directions. Right foot goes out, left foot comes in. Straighten the leg, reach with the right hand. Right hand comes down for triangle pose on the other side. All right, if your gaze is up, bring your gaze down, bring your left hand down. So your left and right hand frame your foot. You're going to turn your chest to the right so you're over your right leg. Gaze towards your right foot. Press into your right foot, come back to center. Toes to the side of your mat, hands wide. Doing a wide-legged forward fold. So on your exhale, lean forward until your hands touch the ground. You might want to bring your legs a little bit wider if you can. Then exhale again. Your chest and your head reach towards the floor. Now, if anyone has a block, you can use a block to sit your head on. Arms, or in chaturanga arms. Make sure your weight is balanced in both the front and the back, the heel and the toe of your foot evenly. Inhale, press into your hands, come halfway up, and then come all the way up. So when you do that again, you can do the same hand position again, but if you want to try something a little different, you put your hands on your hips, kind of to the back side of your hips, pull your elbows back, really opening your chest. And then as you exhale, we're going to come all the way down. If you can rest your head on the floor, go ahead and rest your head. Inhale, press all the way up. And we'll do one more. Again, you can stick with the same hand pose, or if you want to clasp your hands behind your back, we'll do it with that pose. So again, take an inhale. As you exhale, hinge at the hips, folding over, head towards the ground. Really let your hands drop, feeling it in your shoulders. Inhale, raise all the way up. Hands on your hips. Maybe step a little bit further together, and then to the front of your mat for mountain pose. Inhale, reach up, look up. Exhale, hinge at the hips, forward fold. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, fold over the legs, plant the hands, step back to plank pose. Inhale, lower all the way down to the mat, toes to the floor, and come up for cobra. So press into the hands, just a mini cobra, chest forward and up, gaze forward. Exhale, lower to the ground. Inhale, press up to plank pose. Exhale, down to downward facing dog. Inhale, raise the left leg up. Step forward in between the hands. Turn the right heel down, bring the left hand inside the foot, and then come up for a side angle pose. Exhale, bring the hand back down, frame the foot, press up into plank pose, lower all the way down to the floor. So this time we're going to do Shalabhasana, so the hands back by the side, tops of the hands to the ground. Inhale. We're going to just do it with the chest only today. Bring your chest forward and up. Feel your chest off the ground. Legs are internally rotating. Exhale. Rest your head on the ground, your left ear. So bring your hands to the side of your chest. Press up through plank pose, through downward facing dog. Bring the right leg up. Place it in between your hands. Turn the left foot out for side angle pose on the opposite side. Left hand reaches up towards the ceiling. One more breath here. Bring the left hand down. Frame the foot. Press back into downward facing dog. Now we're going to take that slow walk to the front of your mat. Inhale, press into your feet, high prayer. Exhale, Tadasana. Inhale, high prayer. Exhale, hinge at the hips. Inhale, chest forward and up. Exhale, plant your hands. Step back to downward facing dog. Inhale, take a slow walk to the front of your mat. And then start to bend your knees. Bring your pelvis lower and lower till you can sit on the ground. Legs in front of you. So we're going to do pigeon pose, but we're going to get into it a little different than I'm used to. Someone taught me this last week, and I like this entrance. So bend your right leg, bring it in towards your groin, and then put your hands in front of you and start to circle your left leg behind you to come into pigeon that way. And straighten up with your chest a little bit. And then go ahead and walk your hands out. And you can make a pillow with your hands. Rest your forehead on your hands. And take a few breaths here. And so sometimes you can move your hips a little bit and really feel some sensation in certain areas. Just think of bringing your attention, your breath to that areas in maybe in your hip or your knee. Press back up. Tuck your left toes. Raise your hips. Downward facing dog. And again, take a slow walk. Heel, ball, toe, heel, ball, toe. And start to bend your knees. And then use your hands to sit back on the floor in Dandasana. So this time, bend your left leg in, and then circle that leg around, top of the foot on the ground, come up for pigeon. So lift your chest up, and then slowly walk your hands out, again making a pillow for your forehead. Take one more breath. Press up onto your hands. Press up into a plank pose. Bring your left leg back. Back into downward facing dog for breath here. And forward to plank pose. And then lower all the way to the ground as slow as you can, a little bit at a time. Eventually releasing into the floor, and then roll over onto your back. Take a long stretch here. Hands over your head, back of the hands on the ground. Point your toes. Take a stretch to the left, so bring your left foot, your left hand out to the left a little bit. And then take your right ankle, loop it over your left ankle, and bring your right hand over so that your left hand grabs your right hand. Feel a stretch in your right side. And if you have a little more room, you can walk your ankles and your hands over the left. Release the clasp. Walk back to center, unhook your legs. Now the right foot, the right arm, go to the right. Hook your left foot over your right. Grab your left wrist with your right hand. And maybe you deepen the fold to your right. Extending long from your fingertips to your finger toes on the left side. Really feeling it like each rib is gaining a little more space between it. Deep breaths. Release the clasp. Walk your hands and legs back to center. Bring your hands down by your side. We're going to do a bridge pose. So if you have a foam block or something, or you can do a supported bridge by putting it under your pelvis. If not, you can just lift up into a bridge, or there's a way you can use your hands for support, so I'll show you now. So you'll press up, lower back, mid back, upper back, and then kind of work your hands, bend your elbows, and then work your hands underneath your back to give it a little support. All right, so let's try that. So bend your knees, bring your feet in towards your pelvis so that you can touch them close to your pelvis. Press into the inner side of your feet. That'll help keep your legs parallel as you press up, lower back, mid back, upper back. If you have a block, you can put it under. Bend your elbows, you can work your hands under. And if that doesn't work, you can either clasp your hands or bend them. And so you make sure you're pressing into the inside of your legs. Take one more deep breath. On the exhale, release your hands. Bring your hips down to the ground. All right, we're going to do plow pose. So lift your feet up towards the ceiling. Hands down on the ground, palms are on the ground. Take an inhale, and on the exhale, press into your hands to bring your pelvis up above you and your feet to the ground. Keep the legs extended. Toes are on the ground. If you want, you can fold your hands up to give you a little support on your back. Bend your elbows, that is. Stay here for a couple more breaths. If you want, you can bend your knees so they're outside of your ears. And place your hands back on the ground, palms on the ground, and then use your abs to slowly bring your pelvis back to the ground. Keep your feet up for one more breath. And lower those to the ground. So bend your knees, not quite as far to your pelvis, but just part way, so your soles of your feet are on the ground. Going into figure 4, another hip opener. So bring your right knee up towards your chest and externally rotate it so your left ankle's over your right knee. Bring the knee in towards the chest, and you can grab behind your thigh. And your knees reaching away from your chest, and your ankle is reaching towards your chest, so you get the same opening like in pigeon pose. Release that, return your both feet to the ground. Then bring your right knee in, externally rotate it so the heel is over the knee. Lift your left leg towards the chest, and then hands clasp behind the thigh. You pulling your leg a little bit closer, keeping that same rotation like pigeon for one more breath. You can release the clasp, both feet to the ground. And we're going to do a twist. So bring your hands out to the T. Maybe push into your feet to lift your hips a little bit and over to the right, about 2 inches. Bend your knees up into your chest and then let them drop to the left. As they come down to the floor, your gaze is over the right palm. Good. Take about 4 more breaths here. I really like to take my left hand and then bring it up to my right hip. Give it a little more traction, make sure it's lengthening and twisting. Deep breaths, lengthen your spine. Exhales, help you twist to the right. Last inhale. As you exhale, bring the hands back to a T. Bring your feet back up in front of you, heels to the ground. Lift your hips up and take them the other way 2 inches. Bend in the knees. As they drop to the right, the gaze goes to the left. Use your right hand to help guide your hip, just lightly. Hands back to a T. Bring your knees in front of you. Bring them up into your chest, tight into your chest. Almost ready for a final pose, but first we're going to curl up into a little ball, as tight as we can. Take a couple breaths here. Last breath, a little ball, even though it makes it hard to inhale. And then with your exhale, release everything, long on the floor for Shavasana. Let your legs turn out, arms a good distance from your body on the side. I like to lift my shoulders up, walk my shoulder blades a little down my back. Maybe lift your head, let your chin drop slightly. Deep, long breaths as we relax for a few more minutes. Start to deepen your breath. Feel the weight of your body on the floor. Give your hands and your feet a little wiggle if you'd like to move them around. Bend your right knee, then your left knee. Turn to the side, and your body rests for just a couple more breaths. Press up to a seat. Sit with a tall spine. A couple more deep breaths before we close the practice. Join your hands at center for prayer. Do one chant of Om. Take a deep inhale for preparation. Exhale completely. And inhale for an Om. May this practice help us find moments of space to let the light pour in. Namaste.